This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Ad Hoc Grant Search Committee for October 26th at about 2:03. We have all of our committee members here. I've also invited our school principal, Eliza Pluta, our police chief, Ian Illingsworth, and Randall Kemp, our highway super. And Ian has let me know that he cannot attend. He's in the middle of some minor incident here in town that he's taking care of. So he said to feel free to assign him to something and he would get it done. So we shall see if the others can join it or not. But we are recording and I don't see any people for the open time for the public. So let's just briefly, just so I can kind of get rid of these. Thank you, Kate, for doing the minutes of our meetings. I'm going to see if I can pull them up. There's 3 of them here.
Sorry it took me so long.
No, that's quite all right. I mean, we need to get just clarity, and maybe that's something we can do. Ed, I know East Hampton Media is not putting all these meetings on our town website now, but we ought to at least be able to just post a link of where people can find these recordings, so they can go to the new site that East Hampton Media has set up for all of our extraneous meetings. So Jeff sent me that from East Hampton Media. I don't know if you've got it, Ed, do you? Or
no, I don't.
Okay. Let me forward that, and then maybe we can at least just post that on our website so people know where to go. I mean, they're putting up the select board ones, but I think other ones are going to another site because things were getting very crowded on their East Hampton Media site.
Well, the other ones are really contracted for our select board and planning board and maybe school committee.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, with COVID, we and East Hampton, we're not the only ones, have really done, lots of meetings, obviously by Zoom. So I think we were just filling up their homepage on East Hampton Media, which isn't what they wanted us to do too. So they set up a new site for these other meetings. So we'll get it around and get that better known. A couple people were asking me last night too, even for select board, why we weren't Zooming live. And I don't know if that was the same issue. But,
well, it's because they go to YouTube and it is being streamed live, but they've gone to another venue for it.
Yeah, so that's part of what we need to make known because not everybody has the channel, cable channel. So anyway, this is meeting minutes. We have 3 of them. This one goes back to August 3rd. And basically, Kate did a great job pulling this together. This goes way back with all sorts of information about our grants that were in action and ones that we were waiting on. If people had a chance to read through them, I didn't see anything in particular here. This is just all basic straight fact in terms of our status of our various grants that we were waiting on as of the beginning of August.
I wanted to say that there was a NOFO for BRIC, but I don't know that we're eligible for it.
I don't know that it's out yet. I don't think I've seen it yet, but I will check on that.
You can keep going. I'm actually gonna look. I'll look right now.
Okay.
I wanted to say I looked for that.
Yeah, I think it wasn't out at the time of the August meeting. So in that case,
the deadline to submit a sub application is November 14th, 22 by 5 p.m.
Yeah, no. So I think that's a different thing altogether. So these were valid, as of the time that you wrote them. And this is when we were just talking about the Signs and Lines program, the informational webinar. So that was the very first one. I'll just stop that and I'll pull all 3 of these up and then I'll just take a motion to, if I can do this, take a motion to approve all of them, if I can do that. Now, if I can find the second one is always a question, of course.
And it does say BRIC open September. It says BRIC open September 30th, 2022.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, we'll figure that out. Okay, I'm going to get rid of one of these guys here. Let's see. Oops, I didn't share it, did I? No. Can you see this one? Okay, this is a September 8th one. And this was very much just kind of looking over the draft application for the Signs and Lines program, which was our talking about putting in the 2 crosswalks at Parsons Way and Rosalie Lane. And we had gotten information from both Eliza and Ian about these, which we were able to use and fill in the application itself. So this was kind of reviewing some of the information we had. And yeah, we had already clarified questions. We had already gotten our letters of support. We're getting ready, and Ian was getting us a map, etc. So this was right before we actually submitted our application. So I think that was all basically very true in terms of his results of the lineup of cars was still a problem. He'd had his traffic study out there noting how many cars are going up and down Pomeroy Meadow at that time of day. The crosswalks were that close to the school, so then they did fit within the grant program because that's within a 2-mile radius of the school. So all of that tended to fit okay. So let me get rid of that one, and I might find, oh no, yes, okay, that's fine. Let me see if I can find the third one, which is a good question. It's of course the one in the middle. Yeah, oh, magic. Okay. Magic. Okay. And so the third one was the one in between, which was the August 25th one. And this was just backing up, talking about the results of the webinar. And basically, Ian and Eliza had attended that and gave us some information on that. We still had a few questions about who was doing what in terms of the level of design we needed or the level of budget we needed, and certain questions about our eligibility. And this is where at that time, I also reached out to the state to be sure that we did qualify. And with that information, we decided to go ahead with the one that was the last one I just showed you. So, and we got a little bit of information from Randall, and we definitely had the various support letters from everybody. So if everybody's pretty much okay with those, I will take a motion to approve those three sets of minutes.
And it was 8:25, 9:1, and 9:8, correct?
8:3,
8:3.
8:25, and 9:8, I believe. Yeah.
8:20, okay.
Yep.
I move that we accept all 3 minutes,
Okay.
all 3 months.
Okay. Yep. All
I'll
right.
second it.
All right. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Okay. We'll consider all 3 minutes approved. So that's good news. Okay. What we have then since then is unfortunately our little small grant for $6,000 that we worked so hard on. We didn't get it. I think I had sent this, or I had sent the notice around. I can't remember if I sent the email around, but this was from a new contact for us at DOT. So they basically liked what we did. And actually, I've talked to this person since, and she said we actually had a pretty strong application. I guess that they felt that this was, just they had many applications, or she didn't really give me a real reason why we weren't selected, but just to say that we could benefit and the students could benefit from an increased scope to more adequately address the safety concerns. So instead of a very simple program for $6,000 and a couple of crosswalks, she's now referring us to a bigger DOT program for infrastructure. She did give us a few samples here, but didn't really, I mean, the information from Signs and Lines wasn't really all that relevant. She did send me the webinar from the infrastructure program, which I'll share some of that information in a minute. So just one of the reasons, so this is where I wanted to just join in here. So one of the reasons we felt this would fit more with the infrastructure program is that crosswalks can become expensive, and if selected as an infrastructure program, then the scope could be expanded to include other kinds of signage. So those, the flashing signs, the flashing stop signs like we have maybe at, I don't know, there's one at Glendale Road and Pomeroy, for example, or other things like that may be increasing visibility, or maybe other things for traffic calming on Pomeroy Meadow. So process is lengthier. It is actually over a 5-year period, which I sort of balked at. Does allow for more money. And then it's the same kind of thing where we have to provide some level of beginning engineering ideas of what we want to do. But there is the same AECOM that would do a walkthrough and help iron out the final details of what it would all actually look like. So she basically recommended reaching out to our regional planning agency, PVPC, as well as anybody else that we can think of that would help. She did, I'll send this around if I didn't do that before, so you can see the couple of projects that she's highlighted here without me opening them right now. But she's saying, hoping that, we consider applying for the upcoming cycle. So as much as I sort of think that this is, bigger than what we had intended, and maybe, well, it's a little bit more work, obviously, and maybe a longer time frame. I guess I am encouraged when somebody from the state says, we encourage you to apply. I mean, I take that maybe somewhat naively, but I take that with a positive notion that, okay, well, we really should, just not, ignore this, but we should try to do something with it. So
I think it's a lot more reassuring than the original no that I read in the email.
Exactly. So anyway, since that time, I have reached out to PVPC just to find out who the local guy at PVPC is that is in charge of transportation kinds of projects, and I have his name, and I believe his name is I think it's Gary Rue, I believe. Anyway, I just sent a message to him this morning, just asking if we could perhaps have a chat at some point in time if he had any knowledge about this program. And then I did go back to Miranda herself and already ask her a couple of clarifying questions, mainly because this is another one of these where you have to apply on a government state portal, and it's all online. The good thing about it is you can start and stop and save your application, so that's good. The way I was reading a lot of this, though, is that it definitely is very similar in terms of its goals and intent, like our other program talks here. Let me just get down here. The kinds of things that may be funded, very, basically this is all the exact same thing of what we had pretty much with the previous project. So I asked her if we could pretty much take a lot of the language that we had from our previous project and put it in the new application. And she said, absolutely. You may want to beef it up a little bit, but, by all means, go ahead and use what you've already put out as information. So it does include things like sidewalks. It does include traffic calming, speed reduction kinds of things, bicycle crossing improvements so that the crosswalks would still be possibly there. But because there's more money involved, then we could maybe, beef up a little bit more what we were thinking about doing. Now I think, hang on a second, get out of here. Okay, so it does include some of these bicycle things. Sorry, my computer's just making too many noises at me here. And it does allow for some other.
For that one?
Sorry?
Which is the due date for the safety?
This is November 18th. So this is the one that they're wanting us to apply for. So November 18th is a new deadline for this. So typical, they don't cover recurring costs or pavement maintenance, travel lane improvements, school bus safety, all that. So all that kind of stuff. So this is another one where federal share is 80% and DOT provides the required 20% match. So we don't have a funding match at all on this one, which is a point I like very much. We don't have to go look for other money to match this at all. And we do need to do some level. Oh, goodness gracious, what just happened? Oh, Lordy, go away. Hold on. Okay. Nope. Let me find it again. I just lost it now. Just darn it. I love hitting the right button at the wrong time. Oh, jeepers. Oh, now I did it again. Okay. Well, that wasn't what I wanted here. That's not it either. Okay, well, I will have to go see if I can get in there and find this guy now. Hold on just a second here. I can't win. Okay, let me try this again. Okay, let's try again. Alrighty. So this is where I was. So they do help us out with both some design costs on this. So we do need to estimate some project costs. They've given us some samples of what things are there, what things might cost depending on the kind of feature we wanted. What's interesting here is that they gave us more clarity in terms of the budget, because last time we didn't really have to do much of a breakdown on a budget. But she's saying here, all budgets include a standard 10% for landscaping, 15% for traffic management, and 20% for contingency. So that's kind of interesting to know. And then they have then given us different categories of the project. So this can be a gigantic project, or I think we obviously would fit in the small project budget. And so these would be in line with the kinds of things, whatever we decided to have for features, they're putting out some estimated costs. So this would end up being even under the $250,000 amount. We don't have to go anywhere near that. It could still be like 100,000 or 80,000 or whatever we thought we wanted or needed here. But I think we would definitely fit within the small project budget. And so they've given us some ideas of the kind of costs that might be. The thing that I wasn't clear on, and I had just to have them give me some clarity on this, when I opened up this document, it looked like this was a killer for us. So right here, this part right here. So this part right there somewhere. So must include accommodations on both sides. Oh, well, of course, that would be nice if I held that down. And the sharrows didn't count yet. So on both sides of the road. So we already have the shared use path on the opposite side of the road. So this made it sound like they almost required that we have a sidewalk on the other side of Pomeroy Meadow, which was never our intention. And I don't know that that really makes a whole lot of sense. And that painted sharrows, so those painted on the road, share the road arrows, don't qualify as a true bicycle facility under the directive. So it was kind of confusing to the point where I called this Miranda person and asked her about it. And she said that from her understanding, as long as there was a shared use path on the opposite side of the road, that would probably be okay, that we wouldn't have to worry about, or we wouldn't be obligated to put in a sidewalk on the south side of the road. I'm not sure how authoritative that is, but that was her understanding. And so I guess we can hope that that's true. So we would still have our notion, I think, of a couple landing areas, a couple of crosswalks, and some signage, but there may be other parts of this that we would want to, expand upon and make it, a much more substantive project, I guess. The application instructions.
Timeline?
Yes, I'm trying to find that. So the application instructions are long and many and all these crazy portals with DOT, but Randall is already online with DOT on this, and they've been able to add my name into the portal so that I can be, whenever we get to it, we can do this. So there's some information about the municipality. Obviously, we've got to do a little mapping around the area that would be the project area. They've got some magical tool online that you have to use with that. There's a bunch of questions that are related to the school. So some of these are ones that I would probably just copy out and send over to Eliza to fill in. This is just basic, who we are kind of thing. So these are not here, but down the school right here, school designated as Title 1% are considered economically disadvantaged, total enrollment. So there's about 6 or 7 questions here that I would probably carve out and send over to Eliza to see if she could maybe take a stab at working on these. So talking about, the number of grades, kids bus to school, all those kinds of things would be in her bailiwick. The facility location and general information is a bit more partly what we had done before with some project description. And again, probably got to just double check in on one of these documents that they want us to refer to be sure that we're hitting this correctly.
And they want you to be specific about exactly what you're asking for, like the type of lights or the type of.
I think to start with, we should be as specific as we can, but and I'll just go down. So just very briefly, so project objectives, and then any other stuff. Some of this would be something that Ian would help us out with, I'm thinking. So any history of crashes, speeding issues, lack of crossing, lack of sidewalk, etc. So these would be kind of Ian's questions, maybe Ian and Randall. So I might carve those out and send those off directly. And then, what is the level of community support? So again, this would be our letters of support that we would include, I think, again. Basically all that kind of stuff. So, and then has current design been developed for the proposed project? And we haven't really, but I was going to check in with our PVPC person and see if he's a planner for transportation, if he could be of any help or not on that. And then the project budget. So they do want a cost estimate here, and try to do a breakdown of the estimates. So then again, using those cost estimates that had been provided earlier. So basically that's it. And you don't obviously hit the button until it's all done. So somewhere in here is timelines. So here we go. So applications are due on the 18th. The team in Boston, I guess, reviews these, and they have a selection panel that they convene somewhere over the holidays, actually. And then the local panel, I guess, at Safe Routes to School submits them to Mass DOT for approval. And then already in January, the applicants are notified. There would then be this walkthrough scoping meeting like they had proposed on the other one, where they would come out and visit and walk through and hear and see what we're talking about. Do this walk audit kind of thing. All would be done January to mid-February, where they would come out and say, okay, this is what you want to do, but you thought you could use a crosswalk here. Really, we think, instead of 2, 1 is probably okay, and we would put it here, or this is the signage we would recommend, etc. And so then they would help complete the design, from what I understand, because then it says the design plan is delivered to the municipality for comment. I'm sorry, for comment by April, and then work on some of this stuff later on. But the trouble is this does go out over a gigantic length of time. And so this is where I'm still very confused. The woman I talked to on the phone at DOT said this did not have to be a 5-year project. If it was a smaller project, could be a couple of year project, etc. So this is kind of the plan here. If we were selected, then AECOM is that technical assistant. They would assign a project manager and assign a design engineering firm. Then in the second year, they would get it up to more design, up second and third year, and then final design, and then be done with construction within 5 years. Now, I told her on the phone, I said, look, this was a more immediate need project. I mean, by the time 5 years comes, these kids are all going to be out of Norris school probably. So anyway, that's when she said it didn't have to be necessarily a large 5-year project, depending on the budget and what we wanted to do. So anyway, she was still encouraging that we should try to do this. So at the most, I think all we can focus on now is just trying to get an application in by the 18th, and then see where we go with that. And I think we may have to think a little bit more about the design of this in terms of what we might want to have. I know, Ed, you had mentioned something to me about having a possible idea of not a full sidewalk, but some kind of walkway. If you would like to maybe share that idea, and then we can maybe toss that through with both Randall and the PVPC guy, if I can manage to get a hold of him too. But you're on mute at the moment, Ed, so.
You probably don't want to listen to me anyway, so.
There you go.
I was saving the headache. And I was just trying to think of it in, shall we say, alternative path or alternative cost ideas. And number one, just please keep in the back of your mind, a shared use path is about 8 feet wide. So keep that in the back of your mind, because we may have costs just to make what sidewalk we already have a shared use path to meet that criteria for not having something on the other side of the road. But Ian and Randall and I had met with some of the police department hires up in East Hampton, because Line Street actually is split down the middle between Southampton and East Hampton, and we have some issues with the amount of traffic and the speed on it. So it's kind of a shared concern because of the fact that they can't really do anything on their own, and we can't do anything on our own if we wanted to do anything as far as traffic calming, permanent, or pedestrian crosswalks or whatever. So we know that a crosswalk done in today's correct way involves the solar flashing lights. Those crosswalks are about $50,000 a piece. So I'm just quickly thinking, it's like, okay, you got the 3 streets we're thinking about that might be impacted that are close to the school. And if we were going to do 2 of those, that's $100,000. So question becomes, okay, as a cost alternative, do you put in one crosswalk that may be in the middle of those, and then depending on the length of the sidewalk from one of those other streets, run that to that one crosswalk rather than having 2 of them? And if the cost is less, obviously, than $50,000 to put that sidewalk in, that becomes your cost-effective alternative to putting in 2. But those are the type of things you got to keep in the back of your mind. Yeah, and like I say, it's not just if we had to make it compliant with theirs and not put sidewalks on both sides of the street. It might not be just the cost of what does it cost to reconstruct that sidewalk into an 8-foot wide shared use path. We may not have the space that we own to do that. So now you're getting into permanent easements to purchase to do that, and temporary easements during the construction and everything else.
Yeah. Well, everything on the north side is already done through Safe Routes to School as a shared use path. And that's at least 8, if not 12 feet already.
Well, it isn't College Highway. I'm thinking Pomeroy Meadow Road. That's just
I think that's all part of the same program. That's all the same thing, I think.
I don't believe so.
Don't think so?
No.
Okay. I thought it was all part of the same program, and okay.
No, I believe they went to the corner of Pomeroy Meadow Road. Now that was done before I got here, but that is my belief.
Okay, so that sidewalk from Pomeroy Meadow to the school is not that wide then.
It's like actually really narrow.
Yeah.
On the right side of the road, it's like almost hard to pass people walking on it.
Okay, all right, then I was wrong on that part. Okay, so that one choice would be to possibly widen that one, but I thought part of what you were saying too, Ed, was in order to englobe, shall we say, the 2 to 3 streets on the south side, that we might consider expanding the sidewalk that's just been finished in front of the cemetery.
Right.
And coming up that side of the road to the last street before the school, which would be whatever that is, that part, I forget if it's Parsons or Rosalie, coming up to there and having a sidewalk come up a little bit on that south side, so that whenever you did have a crossing, you would have a sidewalk for the kids to walk on, whether it's 1 crosswalk or 2. But I don't know if you can just have a sidewalk that goes a partial distance and kind of ends. So.
I mean, you can. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and actually in the back of my mind, and I just actually emailed Eliza a little while ago, is while we're starting to think of these things, and it's not an immediate response, but I just emailed her and asked her what the radius was around Norris School that students are required to walk. I think it's a half a
Half a
mile, but I
mile.
want it confirmed. But actually, as we start going through this,
Mhm.
we probably should have a short and a long-term plan, and we should draw that half-mile circle around Norris School. And guess what? That probably becomes one of our first areas that we look at expanding sidewalks and if we need to add other crosswalks.
I think that's I think that's a good way of looking at it. I was very happy to be outside of that half-mile radius.
Yeah, but again, whether you ran a sidewalk from College Highway to, and I can't remember the name of the first street. I know Parsons actually hooks up with it and it comes out there, but if what's the cost of that in a sidewalk, or what's the cost of running it from College Highway up to Parsons and putting the crosswalk there, or the more probably possible, since you've already got a crosswalk at Pomeroy Meadow and College Highway, my thought was, okay, if you put the crosswalk and the flashing signs on Parsons, what would be the cost of running the cost of running a sidewalk from whatever that first street is to Parsons, and whatever the third street is to Parsons, is that less than the $50,000 of a crosswalk?
Yeah. So you'd kind of connect it back in right around the party patrol people, right, on that side, and then come up that side of the street is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, the people who were coming up College Highway would cross Pomeroy Meadow Road and then go down that what would be the north side sidewalk that's on the same side of as Norris School. People that were coming from any of those three, students from any of those three streets, or people that wanted to cross the street would come down, in that case, to that middle street and use the crosswalk there.
Right. Yeah.
Which would end up, pretty close to the school.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know that we have any great design knowledge ourselves, so I will still reach out to the PVPC guy, transportation guy, and just see if he has any time to give us, and what his level of expertise is. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know that it would be like our guy Rick, who came out from Stantec and helped us. And I think he's retired now, so I think he's not in the game.
Yeah, I think he's still putting in a few hours, but not like he was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
we do it as like I don't want to say either or, but could you submit the application as like looking to expand sidewalk access to comply with standard recommendations? I mean, maybe that would be a question worth asking them, to say, we don't actually know which is more feasible, just given the easements, the permits, everything that goes into installing new sidewalks. So, I think it would be really helpful to have that technical assistance to figure out what would work best.
Right. Yeah.
Because it is, I mean, I'm scared to walk my dog down that road because it is really narrow.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess I was thinking in front of the after you get past the post office, I guess I was thinking from the post office to the school, it was a little bit wider than what you're saying, but I'm totally could be very wrong on that. So
there's like a telephone pole in the middle of like one of the sidewalks, like really close to it. It's not, I mean, if there's not always a million people walking there, but it's definitely not really far from the road, and it definitely doesn't feel like a shared use path.
Okay.
You can fit a wheelchair, like one, like a wheelchair.
Yeah.
It's like two people walking next to each other.
Yeah. Well, given that, the state program already did part of that sidewalk, I think must have, even if it wasn't shared use, it had to tie in somehow to the one on College Highway, right? I think
that one's really wide. That
is
amazing.
That's the shared use path.
That is the shared use path, and that's required for those kind of things. But I guess, I thought that the Norris School one, tied into that, and so the whole thing was considered, part of that original project. It may not have been, I don't know, but
you could take some pictures if it would be helpful.
Yeah, no, and once we get to that point, I mean, we've got to draw a map and all that kind of stuff according to their geo program, whatever that is, which I'll have to figure out. But I guess the challenge is just trying to understand, we were pretty simplistic in what we'd asked for the first time. But now that the pot of money is bigger and, the effort is more too, and they're willing to let us talk a little bit more about it, how much more we want to try and suggest ourselves and say, look, we'd be interested in expanding our whatever walkability network here, but not quite sure what our design options, what would be the best design option. And that's where we need that technical assistance from them when they, hopefully approve us, but we'd have to have enough information to describe what we're trying to do about it first. So Ed, with any of our on-call engineering firms, is there anybody that we could tap into to take a look at that at all with us just from an engineering point of view?
Not on a level of fray. We'd have to have money to do that.
Yeah.
What about ACOM?
Well, see, they're the ones that would come in at some point. Yeah. Once the original application got accepted, they're the ones that come and do that walkthrough audit and do the final proposal design, I think. So they're kind of like what Stantec was for us on the cemetery one, but they come in, unlike Stantec that came in at the beginning and we had the design going forward. These guys come in after we've submitted an application. So that's where we have to, just like with the signs and line one, have some pretty good idea of what we're thinking of. And, to make this worthwhile, we need something better than just the couple of things that we were thinking of in the earlier project. I mean, they're willing to support something more than that. So I guess the question would be is, what's the reality of needing the sidewalks and what's the viability of trying to, put one in on the south side. I can't imagine going in and widening the one on the north side, right, Ed? I mean, I wouldn't think that would be.
It all has to do with taking a look at what property the town owns for the right of way and how far back it goes. Do you have 10 feet on either side or 12 feet on either side to do that? Or, do we only have like 4 or 5 feet?
Right. Okay. And would Randall have that information or?
He should.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So maybe we need to, catch up with Randall at some point too. I'd invited everybody to the meeting, but I know everybody's got things going on here. Anyway, I guess I just wanted to get a heads up to see what everybody was thinking about. Shall we put in our hat on this and try and pull something together? I mean, I'm willing to do it if we think it's worthwhile to try and go for it. I haven't seen any other programs from DOT that would even address this kind of an issue. And it truly still in my head, the signs to lines one seemed like the most logical one for us because it didn't seem like that big a project, but whatever, they're pushing us toward the bigger one.
I think it's fair to take a swing at it. I mean, even just the signage, like the actual crosswalks. I mean, I was really surprised to even see that a crosswalk would fit into a 6,000 or 2 crosswalks would fit into the $6,000 budget because of all of the requirements.
Yeah.
For accessibility. So, I mean, why not try to apply if we have something that we could implement?
Well, I guess my thought would be that, I need to get online and just see what this portal thing looks like. But to the extent that what's in the guidelines is all the questions for the application, what I would propose to do would be to pick out the basic ones that are, really school related. So those 7 or 8 ones that really would be ones for Eliza to answer, send those toward her. Others that relate to traffic safety, et cetera, to send those questions over toward Ian and see if we could have them, do some basic work on those within a week or so, and then maybe, get back together in a week or 10 days and see what we can, manage to do. And in the meantime, also check in with PVPC and Randall and whomever else to see what ideas we might have to describe this a little bit better. So what does that sound like for everybody? I'd like to kind of divvy up the work a little bit, but I'm trying to see, I need to see the questions realistically to see what we could do. So if everybody were willing to let me kind of parse out the information and ship it to you, because what I would have to do, I think, is just give you the question and have you do something in Word, and then I'd have it all ready so that when I got into the portal, I could just, copy and paste into the portal. That would be the easiest way to attack this little animal, I think.
Sure.
So if everybody's kind of okay with that, that's what I would propose, I think, at this point in time, and see which questions I think we could try and tackle given our level of previous expertise. And I can certainly shoot around the language from the previous grant too, so we can kind of copy and paste some of that same language. But I think we need to make it, even stronger, more substantial in terms of our rationale and whatever that we can do. But we did get compliments on, the application we did. So it's kind of a catch-22 in some ways, I feel, but.
And it's due, you said November 18th, so.
It is November 18th.
Is, letters of support required or recommended?
I believe the support is pretty much the letters of support, and I don't know why we couldn't basically use the same letters. Maybe we'd pass them back around to people and just have them update them with a new date on them. But honestly,
or, add in the scope of the sidewalk, because that was really catered to crosswalks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, that would be great. So I think we could certainly do that. Sounds fine. So, all right. Well, I think that's what I will try to do, is see what I can muster about just sort of divvying up some tasks here and just seeing if I see any other questions. Would you like me to send that guidance document around so you all can look at it too? And I mean, I don't want to burden you with all junk in your emails, but if you want to have access to it, I can certainly just send it around. So I think the level of support, some of that, Eliza may be able to answer too, or Ian from the parents, et cetera, that, had been involved in asking for the crosswalk and the safety issue in general. So hopefully they can help answer some of that. The 18th is a Friday, so it's basically solid 3.5 weeks from now. So I'm thinking, maybe by next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, or maybe Wednesday or Thursday next week. I think I would try to be sure I could get both Eliza and Ian on it, and Randall, that they could come in on it too, so that we could get a first stab at what this is looking like. But my goal would be to
Wednesday afternoon or Thursday would work. Okay.
That works for you guys? Okay. For you? How about you, Diana? Yeah, for you. Yeah, no, for you. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I might be going up to Maine to help my son, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. I might be around too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So maybe either the second or the third kind of works at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what I can do. I know we have the bridge opening on the 3rd. That might be a little bit of a busy day, so I guess I'd probably lean toward the 2nd offhand, which would be a Wednesday. So yeah, basically a week out from today.
11 for, what is that? Oh, Friday. I mean, if we needed to do it, it just couldn't be at 2:30.
Yeah, or 2 o'clock. I was thinking, I was trying to do it a little bit earlier, like at 2 o'clock, because I thought that might help Eliza out with the school let out at 3. And
if it was Friday, it would have to be a little bit earlier because I have another meeting at 2:30. But I mean, I'll try to make whatever I can, just because
yeah, no, this
really short timeline.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 2nd, Kate, which would be a Wednesday.
Sure,
So
that'll be fine. But if that doesn't work for Eliza and Ian.
Yeah, okay. So we'll see what we can do. So I think what I'll do is I'll see if I can cut apart pieces of this application. I'll send around the relevant information to you guys. But I'll cut apart pieces of the application and kind of assign them out and see what we can then pull together in a week's time. And in the meantime, I'll get in on the portal and just see that I can access it and learn how to use it a little bit. Some of these things are weird, but at least it allows you to get in and save it as you go, so you don't have to do it all at once. But
just to warn you, that particular portal, of course they're redoing it again, but Randall has absolutely hated it since they implemented it about a year ago. He's found it extremely difficult.
Oh, so, wonderful.
So I'll give you the heads up. But maybe with the upgrade they're going through right now, they're going to straighten all
Yeah.
that.
Well, and I didn't even ask for it when Randall told me that he had not been able to get in on the portal for a while. He said he already had an account, so I didn't
Yeah.
really need to make an account, which I was wanting to know. And so I emailed that Miranda person back and just said, the highway super says we have an account, but he can't get in on it. So can you shed any light on that? And somehow I got an email from some other guy in her office that got in and said, yep, Randall's in, and I got you signed up as a user. So I was like, well, okay. So I guess we're in to try and do something. So okay, well, that's basically all I had. The last thing, we don't have any news yet on the other Mass Trail grant, the 200,000 that's out there. So we're kind of waiting to see. They may be waiting on us, waiting to see whether we really get possession of the railroad. I don't know if they're waiting on us or what we're doing, but everything is still looking good, Ed, on that, right? Until the beginning of December-ish?
Yeah, we should be closing between mid-December and the end of December.
Okay, all right.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, so I
It
think
is.
so. Yep. And
As
then
soon
we
as,
did-
as soon as we close, we can open Manhan Meadows too, because the trail work is done.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
So,
No, that's great. I've heard good things about the work that was done down there too. So that trail
Mhm.
really, it sounds like we found the right contractor finally. I'm glad.
yeah, yeah.
We went through a lot of pain. I know you guys
We
did,
did,
but
yeah.
I think it probably was worth it in the long run. I haven't seen it yet myself, but I heard good things about it. And then I think the other, just a question, Ed, we had allocated through that other grant, it must have been the one from, and I know you said you wanted to catch me later in the week on this, the Mass Trails grant, sorry, that we got from for design work that we got this year.
The 300,000, yep.
Right. We had said that Ty and Bond could get started on that, right? And do we
Yep.
know if they are planning on starting soon or?
I'm reaching out to them now to get, first
Okay.
of all, they gotta give us a price back for the scope of work that I sent them.
Okay, good. Because I'm just, a little bit worried about, the Greenway Committee not oftentimes having a quorum and, they gotta,
Yep.
they gotta be together to work on this. So
Mhm.
I don't know how we can make sure that the Greenway folks are, with it, but they need to be, a much more, whatever, structured committee, I guess, in terms of their meetings or something, so that they can work with Ty and Bond on this, because they should be the lead on it, really, more so than us, but.
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, I don't have anything else, guys. If that's okay, we'll just go ahead and adjourn unless you guys have anything else to bring up.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Oh,
Good,
sorry,
Diana.
Diana.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask quickly about, I mentioned to Chris that I'm helping the church or thinking about applying for the grants, the state grants for electric vehicle charging stations.
Oh, yes.
And I know that we talked about it for the town, but we said no, or why was that? What's the issue with looking into those grants for the town? I just wondered if there's something I don't know.
One, usually they'll give you the charging station, but you, the user, in this case, the town, would have to pay for the installation of it. Number two, you end up paying for the electricity usage off it.
So somebody that has an electric vehicle that uses a charging station doesn't pay for that?
Yeah, no, as I understood it, they would use their credit card and pay for that.
I haven't seen any of those yet, so.
There are metered chargers. I was talking to somebody else about metered chargers, and sometimes they're free but most of them, many of them have like a swipe thing. Maybe we need to find out which ones are covered under that particular grant program. It wasn't specific to which type it was online, but I was like, oh, well, it's good to know that they would have to pay for their own electricity.
Right. Well, and it may be good just to figure out and think about where you've seen any lately. I mean, River Valley Co-op has obviously got a bunch up there. Now, whether they just
Yeah.
make those free to their customers, I don't know, but it would be worth maybe just catching up with the manager and just asking a little bit about them for what it's worth, or taking a look at them to see if they have a charge mode to them.
I can do that like on my way home or something.
Yeah, I mean, just think about other places where you've seen them and if there's anybody that has, because I think that probably would be the cost. I mean, installation may not be all that terrible, but if you.
Well,
you
the
know,
grant is like $50,000, so you'd
Uh-huh.
think that would cover the installation.
I would
So,
hope, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, to have somebody other than the car owner be responsible for paying the electricity for charging, 5 cars
Yeah.
a week or
Yeah.
something would certainly not be a
Mm-hmm.
plan for the church, I wouldn't think. So, but yeah, I think it's worth looking into, in greater detail. Sure. Yeah.
Can we
Mhm.
find out who's been previously awarded that particular grant? I remember going through them, but maybe we could see who, like another person who's been given that grant to see what their
I think
experience was.
I think Chris sent me the press release on that. So if I can find
Yeah.
it in my crazy email, I can forward that.
Okay.
Yeah, because maybe it'd be worth reaching out to somebody to say, hey, we're interested in doing this. We obviously can't afford to pay for the electricity. Have you dealt with this, or what's your experience with this? Just because there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of good information online. I looked.
Mm.
It seems like there are several programs, but the one I was looking at is a Mass EVIP, something
Yes,
incentive.
that's the same one I looked at too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and then they ask whether you would work with Eversource or not. So that is also, I mean, I'm sort of floundering because I don't understand electricity to begin with. So
Yeah.
it's like, crossing a street, I more or less understand, but it's complicated. So
One of the things, let me go back and take a look at, we had the Eversource rep come in probably about a month ago and give us a little overview on all their programs and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah,
can't
I was
remember-
there.
Yeah, I can't remember if we
Oh,
asked
no, I
about
wasn't.
this. If we
What's
asked
that?
about the solar charging station or not. It feels like we did. Let me go back and listen to that again and see if there's something there. But if not, we've certainly got the name of the person that came in to talk to us. That would be somebody you could reach out to, I think would be all
Okay.
right, Ed? I mean,
Okay.
we know that person as our kind of town liaison. So
Yeah, yeah.
that would be at least a place to start as well,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess the very first question is who pays for the electricity? Because I
Yeah.
assumed like it's any charging station that the people using it swipe their credit card, but
Mhm.
but maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when you pick up your, ride a bike or whatever in Northampton, it's not free.
Right, right.
Your
Yeah.
bike share program. So,
Uh-huh.
Or the scooters in West Springfield.
right, exactly.
Mhm.
So it would seem kind of unlikely to have this be totally free without,
Yeah.
without some
Okay.
cost coming in. So,
Okay. Well, that's a good, point to start with. So
yeah. Okay.
it's gonna take me a while, but I'll
Yeah,
work
okay.
on it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
All right.
Thanks.
Great. All right. Well, let's take a motion to adjourn then if we're done, and we'll try to get back together in about a week. I'll post a meeting for a week out and see how we go. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Motion
right.
to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We
Okay.
are adjourned.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.